Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hotspur House. I'm Tobey from _Spurs Center, and I'm joined once again by Charlie from N17 Nation. Today we're going to be previewing the Everton match, and we'll be going over some transfers once again. And how you doing, Charlie? Welcome to the pod.
I'm doing great. The Premier League is only a few days away, and I'm getting very excited. I can't wait to see us back in action.
Yeah, I'm quite excited as well. So, what are you looking forward to most about the Everton game? Just the season starting up again?
Well, yeah. I just want to see. Obviously, in pre-season, most games would look quite sharp. Obviously, the Watford game, as we mentioned, wasn't amazing, but I'm sure. I really hope. I want to see us have a good, fresh start, and win the first few games, and hopefully that will kickstart our fight for top four.
Mm. We did have a real good start to the season last year with our first two games, really, with our win over Aston Villa and then a tie against Manchester City. So hopefully we don't end the season like we did last year, but maybe start it the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. But Everton, and this is very interesting. Obviously, we will be discussing the transfers that Everton have made. Some very interesting transfers. Obviously, um, Everton have signed Alan, James Rodriguez, and most recently Doucouré. What are your opinions on this transfer?
I mean, they're all top quality signings. So my only thing is I think most likely Everton are going to be lining up in a 4-3-3. I don't know too much about them, but it seems like that's what they're building towards. And it's going to be an entirely new midfield, like completely new. So, and their players have just signed recently, so I don't think they're going to have too long to really adjust to each other. To me, it seems like we should be able to boss the midfield because we have one of the strongest midfields in the league if everyone's on form. So I think we should be okay. We just have to go out there and play well. We have to play our strongest team, and we have to win with our strongest team. And I think we can win. I think it should be relatively easy considering how we played against Everton in the past. Some of our best games in the past have been against Everton, so I think we should do well. What about you?
And I'm going to discuss every one of their signings individually. But talking about our previous performances against Everton, yes, you're right. Last few years, we have been seriously impressive against Everton, especially under Poch when we beat them 3-0, 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? 6-2. Some
Yeah.
excellent results with a lot of goals. But most recently, the 1-0 win against them with Jose. I mean, it wasn't the most impressive performance, but I'm sure we can do better than we did in that game.
Mm. A win is a
But
win,
yeah,
though.
about the signings that Everton have made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with the first one, Alan. Um, Obviously, the Sunday from Napoli.
Mm-hmm.
He is a good box to box midfielder, but he's never really been in any other top league except for Serie A, I think. So it will take him time to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So will the same for James Rodriguez, even though he's arguably the best player out of the three of them. He hasn't, got much game time for Real Madrid, so it will take him a while to fit into the tempo of the Prem. A bit
Mm-hmm.
like Ndombele, who still hasn't quite settled in. And
I agree.
I think the player that will be the most key for Everton this season is actually Doucouré out of the three of them, because
Mm-hmm.
he has already been in the Prem, so he knows how the Prem works. And I think he's actually quite an underrated player because he helped Watford so much when they won the Premier League, and I think he just wasn't noticed enough because they weren't really challenging for much. But I think now in a bigger team with a better manager, he can really shine because he's very physical. He's uh, very strong, very physical, agile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he
Very
said it
underrated.
himself that yeah,
I think he's a good player. He's definitely going to be important for them this year, especially considering he's their only Premier League proven player in the midfield. That is the only new signing that's Premier League proven in the midfield. But Everton have been busy this window. We've been relatively busy this window. We still have some deals to do before we'll be ready to really push for any titles, but I think we can do it. Uh, like I said before, I think our midfield's one of the best in the world, uh, and so are our forwards. Our defense, when they're on form, we need a key player or two before we can really push for those major trophies like the Premier League or getting back into the Champions League and winning it. We got so close last year, but I think that this is really a year that I think we'll be able to push off from and use our momentum to carry forward.
Talking about like the important year that is coming up, that is one really important, interesting topic. So as a Spurs fan, the last few years, since the 16-17 season where we almost won it, since that season, every season I've been saying, this is the season where we need to win a trophy
Mm-hmm.
or Harry Kane will leave. This is the season where we need to win a
Yeah.
trophy or Harry Kane will leave. But now he's saying this season. So I think this is pretty much it. If we
Yeah.
don't win a trophy this season, I'm pretty confident that we'll lose players like Kane, Son, even Dele Alli. And that's why I think this season is so important. Even just the Carabao Cup, any trophy is
Mm-hmm.
vital this season, or at least top four. If we don't get top four and don't get a trophy, that's it. I'm telling you, the club will need a total rebuild once again. But I think that if we can win a trophy this season, it will be really important for the club going forward. And yeah, I think Kane will stay if we do win the trophy.
I think what you're saying about winning the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. I think the mentality has changed behind the scenes with the appointment of Jose Mourinho and the attitude towards the cups, because Mauricio Pochettino has always talked about how they're just the farmers' trophies, and we're going after the big trophies such as the Premier League and the Champions League, and we've gotten close, but we haven't quite gotten there. So I think that
Yeah.
this year it might just be important for a manager like Jose Mourinho, who comes in and you saw it in the documentary where he was really motivating the players and saying that this game against in the FA Cup was very important and you had to play 110% because the other team is going to, and you have to match their mentality and their effort, or we're going to lose and we're going to get knocked out. So I think we have a fairly good chance at winning it this year. Uh, don't want to
Yeah, I
get
think so.
too excited about it to get let down. But I think that with Mourinho, we might play a stronger lineup in some of the cup games than we have previously. We'll take it more seriously this year than we have in the past. I think that's almost a guarantee. I'd be surprised if we ended up naming a youth team. Essentially, is what Pochettino would do in the FA Cup. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm fairly confident this year that we'll at least get very far in the competition and to a semifinal or final.
Well, talking about the cups, yeah, you're right with the fact that Poch didn't really take them seriously enough. I mean, the last disappointment was when he played. I mean, it wasn't even that bad a team against Colchester, but the
Mhm.
players and him still didn't take that game seriously enough. And the one that really disappointed me the most was, I think, 1.5 or 2 years ago when he played Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, which was
It was
the
like a
18-19
semifinal
season, I'm
or
pretty
a
sure.
quarterfinal. I know the game you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I think that's it. And yeah, we didn't play the strongest 11, and
Mhm.
Poch just didn't seem to care that much about it. So I really hope that Jose changes that mentality and tries to
Mhm.
challenge for every trophy that is available.
Mhm. The last bit before we get back to the Everton game, but I think it's important that, like you said, we name our best 11, especially when we get into the latter stages of the competition, because in the past with Pochettino, he'd play someone like Michel Vorm or Paulo Gazzaniga in the beginning rounds, and then they'd get us to the end, and then he'd say, "Oh, well, they got us here. I'm going to leave them in goal." But no offense to Vorm, to Gazzaniga, or to Hart, but Lloris needs to be starting the semifinals, the finals, the quarterfinals to get us into that position to
Yeah,
win.
yeah, exactly. So let's get back to the Everton game.
Yeah,
So we've talked about the transfers that they've made. Um,
let's talk about our
let's
lineup.
talk about the
How do you think we're going to
tactics
line
and
up?
the starting 11 that both teams might be implementing.
Mm-hmm. Let's start with us. How do you think we're going to line up against the Toffees?
Well, I actually posted recently, actually today, my potential starting 11 against Everton on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, and I'm going to say the same team. So even though Dele Alli had a poor game against Watford, I think he will start ahead of Ndombele. So
Mm-hmm.
I would go with Lloris in goal, a back line of Davies, Davies, new signing Doherty, Davinson Sanchez, Alvald or Dyer. I don't really know who's going to, or he might go with Tobey or Dyer, which seems to be his preferred pairing, but he has played Stevenson quite a lot in pre-season. And then with a midfield of Dele Alli or Celso if he's back from injury,
Hmm.
and Lo Celso, Dele Alli, and Højbjerg as a holding defensive midfielder, and up front, Son, Kane, and Bergwijn.
I think that's the most popular starting 11 amongst Spurs fans, especially with Bergwijn coming in with Lo
Ahead of Luke.
Celso and ahead of Lucas and with Sanchez and Alderweireld and back in front of Dyer. But I'm gonna go with I think everything the same as you said, but this actually is more popular amongst Spurs fans. But I think Dombele may start the game, only because he had a little bit of a preseason, and I think Lo Celso may not start because we haven't seen anything. We don't know what's going on with him, so maybe he won't. And especially with all the reports coming out with how Mourinho and Levy are determined to make that the signing of Dombele a success. So I think we could see him. And we talked about in the past how Dombele maybe doesn't have the drive to play in the Premier League, or maybe he's not. He isn't willing to work hard enough. Maybe he doesn't want to be at the club at Spurs, but you don't get that talent. You don't have that ability on the ball, or you don't have the skills that he does without an insane amount of work ethic. I think he has to be
And talent, yes.
incredibly driven. Uh, but I want what happened to it? Where did it go? You don't get that good without a, a very, very good work ethic to get there in the first place. And
Yes,
also, last
yes.
summer, sorry, one more point. Last summer, he had options. He didn't. Spurs weren't the only club coming for him. There was rumors with Juventus, with Barcelona, but he chose Spurs out of the three, and I'm sure there were more. Um, so I think he does want to be at the club. He had a rough first year, but this is like we were saying earlier for Spurs. This is going to be an important year, and it's an important year for Dombele too. It's an important year for a lot of our players like Dele, Lo Celso, uh, and Bergwijn. But I think I, I don't know. I think Dombele is going to have, if not a start, he'll get minutes.
Yeah, well, believe me, I would love to see Ndombele start the game. Yeah, I actually thinking about it, I don't think Lo Celso will start because he hasn't had any of the preseason. The
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing is, player that we haven't really mentioned him much and hasn't appeared anywhere in preseason, Harry Winks.
Well, he
Um,
did. He played in that first game, but since then he's been missing.
yeah, I don't know. I think he might have had corona. I don't think it's an injury, but
No.
I really don't know about that. Also, Musa Sissoko, also, you never know, he could start. But
Yeah.
I just don't think that Ndombele will get that start in the first game of the season. Obviously, I'd love to, but I
Mhm.
think he's actually going to go. I think he's going to prefer with going with Sissoko, Deli, and Højbjerg, but we'll see.
Mm. I
We'll
think
see.
that would be a massive statement, and from Mourinho, I think that would really um, up Dombele's mentality at the club. Like you start Dombele in the first game, and Dombele in his head is thinking, "Okay, this manager likes me. We had a rough bit, but now we're back. He likes me. He's putting me in the lineup. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna perform for this manager." Um,
Um, yeah, well, now I'm going to talk a bit more about tactics
mm,
because there is a reason. It's not that Jose doesn't really like. I mean, yes, obviously, he wasn't happy with his work with Ndombele's work ethic, but
mm,
I've seen these reports like Ndombele. Poch played a possession-based style of football with
mm-hmm,
Tottenham, and that's exactly why he brought Ndombele in. Ndombele at Leon played also a possession-based, almost tiki-taka style of football, with Aouar and Ndombele, the holding central midfielders who would pass it around a lot, who would attack a lot, but they wouldn't like run too much. They a bit like um, they pass it around, but they just don't. They're not the midfield beasts that Jose
mm-hmm,
likes. Like that's why Jose really likes Sissoko
mm-hmm,
and Højbjerg because They're big, they're strong, they have the energy, the stamina to run the whole game up and down the pitch. And those are the kind
Hmm.
of midfielders that Jose has always liked at all the clubs he's been to. But I think Ndombele could change the tactics a bit to try to. Jose could change the tactics a bit to try to implement Ndombele into the squad because I'm sure Jose can recognise how big a talent Ndombele is. But also talking about tactics, something that we didn't really talk about last episode, the tactics that Tottenham have been using since Jose's arrival and that will be used this season. And also the arrival of Doherty affecting those tactics. Um, so obviously we have all recognised that Jose starts with the back four, but then with Aurier he
It
pushes
almost to the
Aurier
back
as
three.
more of a right wing back or right midfielder, and then Davies is implemented as more of a left centre back next to Alderweireld and Dyer or Alderweireld and Sanchez. And I think the same will be done with Doherty since he's a very attacking right back. So I think we'll be seeing that tactic used once again against Everton.
Mm-hmm. I think it's good to have Doherty too because he's an aerial threat. He wins a lot of headers, so I think it would be great to see Lloris maybe uh, like just hit a few balls up to him, and especially with Alderweireld, who we call Lord of the Pings. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think he'd love to. Alderweireld would be uh, very excited to have a wide right back who he can hit the ball out to, and he can win a header to get it back into the middle and create opportunities from out wide, which is something that last season I thought was very odd. How we almost our entire creative midfield was, I don't know how to explain it, but it seemed like Aurier was the one creating a lot of our opportunities. Not that he was the one creating the opportunity, but he was the one who needed to have the perfect final pass, which he just never seemed to have. Because I think it was something like he had 135 crosses or something like that last year, and
Yeah,
he had
well, I
like
think,
4 or 5 assists,
yeah,
which
no,
is incredible.
yeah, he's incredible, but I think that Doherty is just going to be key. He's going to be vital
Mm-hmm.
for us this season. He really
I
is.
agree with
I
that.
mean, think about it. If we implement um, the the tactic that Jose's been using, like I mentioned earlier, and again, what you just said, overloading that right side with Bergwijn and Doherty, we could really be a danger for or not just Premier League clubs, all clubs on the planet. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we will really. I can't wait. I just can't wait to see us in action because I'm really excited. That I'm positive ahead of this season.
Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a big season for us. I think we're going to overperform a lot more than people are expecting us to. I was watching uh, uh, a Premier League table prediction, and someone had us finishing sixth. And
I know
I think
everyone does that.
we're going to be back in the top four this year. But I mean, for the past 5, 6 years, people have been putting us in sixth. We perform well, and they say, "Oh, that was their best year," and then put us down in sixth. And we perform well again, and they say, "Oh, they're going to drop." And I think we're going to be finishing at least in front of Arsenal, hopefully in the top four, and we'll win a trophy maybe. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean that's the ideal scenario. If I'm being honest, that's something that all Spurs fans would love to see, obviously.
Mhm.
But let's now get to the score predictions for the Everton game,
Let's do it.
and yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll go first, I guess. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'd love to say we're going to start our season off with a clean sheet, but I'm going to go with a 3-1 win. Again, similar to same as last season. Goals from Kane, whoever starts at our right winger. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but Lucas or Bergwijn, whichever one starts, I think is going to get a goal. And Dele Alli is going to get on the score sheet as well, and Richarlison is going to score the goal for the Blues.
I think it's going to finish 4-1 to Tottenham. Pretty optimistic, but I think we can do it.
Mhm.
And looking back at our previous results, I think the scorers are going to be Kane with a brace, which would be excellent to
Mhm.
start his season off, and hopefully win the race for the Golden Boot, which he hasn't done in 2 years, and I'd
Be
really love
great
to
to see
see
him
it to
get his
prove
hands
the
on the
doubt.
Golden Boot again.
Yeah, to prove the doubters wrong, because what people saying Elba's better and stuff. So I'd love to see that, and then also Son and Ali, because in all the games that we seem to play against Everton, it's always been Kane, Son, Ali, and when we had Ericsson, also Ericsson. So it always seems to be the four of them. And yeah, I think Kane, Son, and Ali will get on the score sheet. We'll finish 4-1. And I think Calvert Lewin will head one in from a badly marked corner. I can just see that happening. So yeah, 4-1.
I'm hoping that our bad marking on corners and set pieces is going to be gone this year with Jose Mourinho having more time to work with the squad. I really don't. I don't want to see us losing any more points or conceding any more goals because of our just awful defensive mistakes. And I'm trying to think of the word. I'm totally blanking on it, but hopefully we'll be better this year when it comes to defending.
Yeah, well, that's actually quite interesting what you just mentioned, because actually, I was quite. I mean, under Poch, the last year we were shambolic from corners, free kicks, every set piece. We seemed to. It always seemed to be dangerous. And in the All or Nothing documentary, I think was it against West Ham, he said that we cannot be scared of every set piece, and we need to be more calm with set pieces. I think since Jose's actually joined, we've looked quite calm when it comes to corners. Like every time someone whips a corner in, we most like pretty much all 99% of the time we clear it away easily. But not corners, but I think more free kicks, like on the edge of the area. That's where we actually struggle when it comes to marking. And yeah, you're right. I hope to see us improve that, because we do have some big lads in the box.
We do.
We
That's
just
another thing I don't understand when we
get a
when
bit
we get
better
a
to that.
corner, and very frequently. Now, and I'm not sure if it happened as much under Jose Mourinho, but under Pochettino, we would take short corners all the time, and I didn't
Yeah, I
understand it.
hated
It
that.
never worked. And then because we have all the real Eric Dyer, Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, who's pretty short, but he likes to get his head on the ball because issues in the box, especially off of a free kick or set piece or a corner, whatever it happens to be. But we have tall players, Dele Alli, who like to get their head on the ball. And now we have Matthew Doherty, and I I'm gonna be very angry if we end up with a corner played short against Everton because I think it's just a wasted opportunity. Unless we score, then I'm gonna be saying brilliant play, proud of Jose, wonderful play from the team. Let's
Yeah,
go
but
short corners all for the rest of the season.
Jose actually doesn't really do short corners, so I would be quite surprised if we did quite a few short corners next season. But yeah, I absolutely hated that with Poch. We've never, I swear, out of like 50 short corners, we've scored maybe one, or like we've only created 3 chances out of 50 short corners. I mean, it's pathetic, really.
The worst
So
thing was
yeah, I hope
when
we never
they'd
see
play
that
it
again.
short, and then sorry, just really quick, we'd get the corner, we'd play it short, and whoever received would turn and play it back to the center backs, and that happened like I'm just thinking about it, and I can picture 4 or 5 different scenarios where Ericsson would be on the corner, he'd pass it to Dele, Dele would play it back, or they take Dele would grab it really quickly, play it back to Ericsson, Ericsson would play it back, and I just didn't understand that. Like we had an opportunity to put the ball in the box without pressure on the person crossing the ball, and we'd completely blow it. I don't understand it, but we move. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I think we should move on from the Everton game now. I think we talked
all right,
enough about it.
let's
And
talk
I
about the
think we should
strikers.
move on to some transfer rumours.
Let's do it. And I have to say really quickly that I've been impressed by Levy so far this window, but he is making a mess of the striker situation. Our two biggest targets at one point were Callum Wilson and shoot, I'm blanking on his name, Ollie Watkins,
Yeah, Ollie, what? And
and
they've both been
they've
sold,
both
yes.
signed. They've both signed with different teams, which I think is I can't believe it. But we're still linked with uh, Habibo Diallo, and I'm gonna butcher his first name, but Arcadias maybe Milik. Um, and they both seem to be good players. I prefer we sign Milik, who seems more experienced than Diallo, but I I'll take anyone at this point. Just give us a striker to play with Harry Kane, to play next to Harry Kane, to play behind Harry Kane. He needs someone else to play at the top of the line at some points. He can't play every game for this entire season.
You know what? I'm just going to put this out there. Last time on the last podcast, when I mentioned Milik, he said there haven't been any rumors for him in a really long time. And now I just feel so good about myself. I don't know why, but yeah, now that we're back interested in him, I think he's actually a perfect signing. As I said before, he's very similar to Kane. Excellent header, and something that is actually better than Kane is. He's a really good free kick taker, at least from what I've seen. He doesn't seem like the kind of player that would take free kicks, but he can definitely whip a free kick into the top corner
Harry
from
Kane's
quite
free
some
kicks are
range too. So
interesting.
that would be excellent if we get a good free kick taker in him.
Yeah, we
And
seem to be
also
missing a
since
good free kick taker at the club.
Yeah, I mean,
After
Lo Celso's
Ericsson
okay,
left.
but he's not the best.
Yeah.
But talking about Milik, one positive is he's in the last year of his contract and he
Mhm.
does not want to sign another contract. So that we could actually snatch him up for quite cheap.
That would be really nice. Imagine if we got 3 signings this window for 15 million, or 4 signings this window for 15 million or less. Levy masterclass.
I know.
Another player we've been linked with, Sergio Reguilon, a left back. To be honest, I'm a little conflicted about this because I'd love to see a quality left back join the team, but I think if Reguilon joined, that likely mean Dennis Serkin would go out on loan, and I'd like to see him get some first team minutes this season with Spurs. But something I think could happen. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's going to. But if we signed Reguilon and Ben Davis, who can play as a center back, and we've been looking for the left-footed center back to go into our defense, I could see Ben Davis playing as a center back this year for us. But what would you think about us signing Reguilon?
Well, just before I have a lot to say about Regulon, but just before I get to that, going back a bit to the strikers, what I was really annoyed about is the rumors said that Newcastle wanted minimum 30 million for Wilson. I mean, Bournemouth wanted minimum 30 million for
Yeah.
Wilson, and now Newcastle signed him for 20. And also, I'm actually quite happy we didn't go for Ollie Watkins because he isn't Premier League proven, even though he did win the Championship Golden Boot. And I mean, 33 million for him. I mean, that's a bit pricey. I ain't gonna lie. But now going back to Reguilon, well, I don't know if you know much about him, but I actually think he's an absolute steal. Since Real Madrid seem to be offering him to different clubs, most
cheap, too.
reportedly Man United and Tottenham, and only for 25 to 20 million. And that is so cheap. The guy is only, let me just check. I thought he was 22, but he could be 23. I'm just
I think
going to
he's
check
23.
quickly. Oh, okay, excellent. And yeah, I just think I think he's a really good player because I've seen him play for Sevilla. I've seen him play for Real Madrid last season, and yeah, he's definitely got qualities. Obviously, the thing is, I actually don't think we should go for him because it would change everything. Because think about it, what you said about Turkin too. Turkin would most definitely not get as much game time as expected. Also, Davies would, be benched, possibly sold, or something different. I don't know. I know Jose is planning to use Sessegnon quite a lot this season and to make him almost quite close to a regular first team starter, but I really don't know if he's going to use him more at left back or as he did in pre-season as more of a left mid, left winger role. But if he does use him at left back every time Reguilon, I mean, that could be the end of Sessegnon's playtime next season because I can see Son starting every game at left wing next season.
Yeah.
But also, I just don't think we should. I mean, also, Reguilon isn't a very defensive left back like Davies. We could not use that tactic that I've been talking about where he goes into a back three. We just could not. He is.
Maybe there's a change in tactics though, where we play more like we did with Pochettino when we played with Danny Rose on the left, Kyle Walker on the right, two center backs, and Eric Dyer as a holding mid. Maybe Højbjerg is that holding mid who can kind of drop between the two center defenders if the other team tries to counter. But the other thing too is that report came out within the week about how Jose Mourinho sees Sessegnon as Spurs' long-term solution for left back. And like you were saying, I'm conflicted about whether or not I would want to sign Reguilon. He definitely improved the team, but it would probably mean Sirkin doesn't end up in the first team at any point. It would just completely block off his options to get in. And I think Sirkin, he looks like he's going to be an exceptional player. And if you think about it, he's 6 years younger than Reguilon. I think that is plenty of time for him to really develop into a world-class left back for us. And then we could be the team with two Irish fullbacks, and that'd just be kind of cool. Start with Sirkin on the left and Doherty on the right.
Yeah, I only just realised that. But yeah, I think by the time Sirkin becomes world class, Doherty might be a bit too old, to be honest. Sirkin's got plenty of time, and I'm sure he'll become a class left back. But I'm just not too sure about Reguilon. I think we should go for a more defensive left back. If we've already gone for a very attacking right back, I mean, maybe not too defensive, a bit more attacking than Davies, because Davies is not the best in attack. But just, I mean, Reguilon's like 5'9", and he's not the best at tackling. So I would like to see someone else. But yeah, I wouldn't mind him though. For 20 million, I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd be happy with the signing, but like I said, I'm conflicted. I'm gonna be happy either way. We sign him, okay. The team's improved. We don't sign him, okay. Sessegnon and Sirkin, it's their time to really prove to the team what they're worth. And we were talking earlier about how it's a big season for us as a team. It's a big season for Lo Celso and Dombele and Dele. It's a big season for Sessegnon. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs because he had some not great performances last year. I think he could have done a lot better than he did. But this year, maybe a little more maturity. He seems like he's bulked up a bit. Just looking at him in preseason, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him to prove to the team that he can play in the starting 11. He can play as a left back. He can play as a left winger. Let's see where he cements his spot in the team and see if when Kane gets injured, if we don't sign a striker and Son goes into that striker role, if Sessegnon can fill the gap in left wing.
Yeah, I actually think Sessegnon could have an absolutely excellent season this year. He looked sharp in pre-season against. He scored against Reading, right?
I think he scored in the first game.
Oh yeah, against Ipswich, he scored our first pre-season goal, and then against Birmingham, he had this really good chance that he scored. So I've been quite impressed with him recently, and I really hope that he could have a breakthrough season because he had that amazing season in the Championship for Fulham, where he scored like 16 goals or something, which is unbelievable when he was only 18. But since then, he's kind of slowed down with his growth, and I really hope he can get back on track. But just going back quickly to the left back situation, I don't think people are giving Davies enough of a chance. I'm not saying he's some world-class left back, but think about it. Last season, under Jose, we had problems at left back. But Davies got injured in the first game against West Ham and then was injured until pretty much the end of the season. And then we won the last few games of the season with him.
That's a good point.
So, and also Danny Rose, I mean, have you seen his rant on All or Nothing?
I did.
I don't think he's getting a chance under Jose.
No.
But I just don't understand. There's no rumours of us selling him. I haven't noticed him anywhere. I don't really understand.
There's been some links with Cagliari in Serie A.
Oh, he's not going to Serie A.
I don't think so. He seemed pretty excited in the documentary by the chance of going to Milan. So.
Oh yeah, Milan, yeah.
But I think Danny Rose, he went into Jose Mourinho's office, and he seemed like he wanted to start an argument. Because just the way he was talking, it didn't seem like he was there to talk to the coach and say, okay, how can I get into the first team? It was, okay, you're not playing me in the first team. There's nothing I can do. You're a bad coach. I'm out. I think he went in there with a completely wrong attitude, especially after Jose Mourinho said that the reason he was given an opportunity against Liverpool was because he trained so well the week before. So I think it's just he should have gone in there and said, okay, you said the reason I got in against Liverpool was because I trained well. Okay, I'm going to train. I'm going to be the best player in training this week. I'm going to be the best player next week. I'm going to be the best player the week after that. I'm going to be in your starting squad all 3 times. And he didn't have the right attitude. I think he went in there wanting to leave.
Well, if I'm being very honest, this is one of the most interesting things I've seen in the series. Actually, almost the point of the series. The point of the series is to see what it looks like to play for and be a player or just a staff member for a big Premier League club. And this is where it gets interesting because Danny Rose, the most interesting part about it is when he said when he mentioned that the team have only kept 2 clean sheets, and he said that the defenders were bad, and he really wasn't nice talking about his teammates, the defensive one. And it was really I don't know how honest the players are with each other. Maybe after every game they tell each other that they were bad, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it's quite disrespectful that I mean, he
Way he
probably
talked about his
knows
teammates.
going in the series and saying all that about. I mean, it's just a bit. He felt really off when he ranted there, and I'm not proud of him there. I think we should have gotten rid of him a long time ago. I think we should have gotten rid of him first time he had a rant with Pochettino. In I think
About the
the
signings,
17th season when he openly said that he wants to leave for Man United. And the way he disrespects the club and its players sometimes, I'm happy that he's been such a long servant to the club. But if you're not going to treat your teammates and your club in the correct way, I mean, what's the point?
Last summer, this is going to seem a bit off, but I'll explain how it connects in the end. But last summer, we were looking at signing Danny Ceballos on a year loan, and then we Ceballos, the player who went to Arsenal.
Yeah.
And the reason we said that we ended up not signing him was because he didn't want to make the move permanent. He was only looking at it as a stepping stone to get back into the team at Madrid, and then Arsenal took him because they're the stepping stone club. But Danny Rose, I feel like he just thinks that Spurs is his stepping stone. Like he thought he was going to get his Kyle Walker move to Manchester United or to Manchester City or to some big club, to an AC Milan, to an Inter Milan, to a Juventus. And now the teams that are interested in him were Newcastle, Bournemouth were looking at him, and now Cagliari, who I've never heard of. I don't follow Serie A, but he seems like he thinks he's the best left back in the world. I truly think he does, and he's just not.
I really do think he does.
He said he's the team's best left back. I don't think he is. I mean, he's an incredible player. He plays for the badge every time. The passion he shows is second to none. But I think it's time for him to move on.
Yeah, I think it has been for a long time. And I mean, he's been a good servant, but I think it is time to say goodbye. But now moving on from Danny Rose to another rumour that we mentioned obviously last time, a lot of the time we were talking about it. And there's been updates about Gareth Bale, and it's looking more and more likely that we actually might be signing him.
I really want to just make fun of the Spurs fans who really think that we're going to sign him, but there's a little part of me that thinks it might just happen, and I really don't want to believe it because I'm ready to get disappointed when deadline day comes around and there's no news on Gareth Bale, or because Real Madrid blocked his way out, or because he decided he wanted to stay on his £7 million a week deal. But I'd really love to see him back. Especially, I think a report even came out the other day that when he was with Wales, he said he didn't care about the money anymore. He just wanted to get regular appearances. So I'd love to see him back at Spurs. I mean, we don't really need another winger right now. We probably have to sell someone. But I'd like to see it.
I think it would be either the end of Lucas or the end of Lamella at Spurs if we sign Bale. But the updates have recently that I've seen are that Real Madrid are actually willing to offer
Pay
us Bale and to pay half of his wages. They're that desperate to get him out of the club that they're willing to pay half of his wages if he signs for us. And also another update was that like Mourinho is really keen, and that we are now favourites to sign him because a lot of the other clubs that were kind of interested are now out of the race.
Mourinho's always been a fan as a player. He said Daniel Levy. I just saw a report that said Daniel Levy assures Mourinho that we'll be going in for the Welsh wizard. Imagine if he could just replicate his form he had with the club when he was last here,
I know.
and he can play. He hasn't in a while, but he's played through the middle before, so maybe he could be our second striker. I mean, it's not his natural position, but I think he does a pretty good job of it. Because in his last little bit at the club, he kind of played as a center forward for us, and he was pretty effective, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with him.
But I think the key to us signing him or not signing him actually might be the fact: does he still have the pace? Because when Jose was at Real Madrid, he played counter-attacking football and he won the Spanish League and Cup that season. And Bale was key, along with Ronaldo, obviously, because they were really quick, running down the wings, banging the goals in. And Bale was absolutely crucial because he was so quick and just so agile and quick. And the defenders just couldn't do much about him. Much about it, and I really wonder because I haven't watched Bale in a while. I know he can still strike a free kick perfectly and strike a long ranger, but does he really still have the pace for it?
I mean, I don't think you really lose that pace that he had. You don't just lose it. I think he may not be as fast as he was, but I think he'd still beat many defenders in a
Yeah,
one-on-one, especially if it's a 50-50 and the ball like if Alderweireld pinged the ball over the defense. I think 9 times out of 10, Bale would be the first one to get there, um, behind only maybe Lucas Moura or Sung Hyung Min. But I don't know. I'd be happy to see him back at the club, but it's the same situation I had with Reguilon. I'd be happy to see him come back, and I'd be okay if he didn't. But and I'd be disappointed for sure. But I don't know. Definitely start hard to determine these things.
yeah, it is. It really is. I don't think there were too many other transfer rumors since the last podcast, so I think we should now move on to the All or Nothing documentary. To be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we won't talk too much about it this time. We might go over it a little bit
Yeah.
more in the Everton match review as well. But let's just go over it really quickly. Episode 4. What do you remember happening and any key bits? We already talked a little bit about Danny Rose's outburst. I think episode 4 was mostly about Tanganga and his introduction into the side.
Yeah, well, episode four was right after we lost to Chelsea 2-0, I'm pretty sure. And I think it was an interesting part of our last season because it was right before Christmas and the hectic training, the hectic schedule of games was just unbelievable, really. As Jose said, it shouldn't be allowed. It's not biologically correct to do that, but and in that first episode, we didn't really get injuries. I think that's in the fourth episode, I don't think we get any injuries. I think it's in the fifth one. But yeah, it's all about Tanganga and his rise through the ranks so rapidly out of nowhere. So, what did you think to his debut and to the way he gained Jose's trust?
Well, I think it was really interesting how Tanganga, he must have been listening so intently and hanging on every word that Jose Mourinho said, because Jose said you need to be not afraid to get in front of their shots and to block and to like just lay everything out there. And in the game, I think it was Firmino, maybe Salah, got through our defense and they took a shot on goal. And Tanganga jumped in and he kind of caught it with the inside of his left leg, and we were able to get it out. And we did end up losing the game 1-0, not for lack of chances. Sonny had one that he blew over the bar. Dele had one that he was reaching for and it went off to the side. but uh, he must. I think he just has to be such an intelligent player, and he must be focusing so much in the dressing room to be following instructions so clearly. And I think that's an effect that all of the players have had. Really, we see in the game against Manchester City when Mourinho slaps the board and says Zinchenko, Walker, and Sterling all have yellow cards, and then we go out there and Winks takes on Zinchenko, and Zinchenko trips him, and then all the Spurs fans get in the referee's face, and we get the red card for Zinchenko. So I think that maybe that's just an effect that Jose Mourinho has on his squads, and I wish we'd seen more of Pochettino because did the Spurs players follow the instructions that Pochettino gave as clearly? But I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, sadly we'll never know. But I mean, we might know if Poch comes back one day, but that's not the point. And yeah, also I forgot to mention not just Tanganga, but the rise of Bergwijn and the signing of Bergwijn.
Mhm.
And his debut obviously was absolutely unbelievable. The goal against City, the scenes and it was really nice to see just right before Christmas, the happiness on the players' faces after that huge win, and the day off that Jose gave them. It was really maybe the most positive week of our season after that win.
Yeah,
But
that was definitely the
then
biggest win of
it
our season.
started from there, going down and down and down.
Yeah. I'm not looking. Yeah. It's just it went down, and then after Sonny gets back, after I'm assuming in episode 7 or 8 when Son and Kane, and after the COVID ends, the COVID break ends and Project Restart starts, is when we really hit our form and our stride, and I'm hoping that's what our season's going to look like. I mean, we lost 1, I think, and tied 2 out of 9 games, so 20 points out of a possible 27, which isn't great, but I mean, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, from there it went a bit off, and that kind of part where we had all the injuries, and obviously the really serious Kane injury. That I mean, I have no idea how many times Jose said "f off" in those 3 episodes. I mean, he said it so many times, and it was also really sad that his dog died.
Yeah.
The dark part of our season that kind of ruined our season. We were looking to stay positive, but sadly it went down from there. But at least we had a positive end to the season.
Yeah.
But I just want to say something. It was about
Let's go back to what you forgot to say about what you were forgetting about last time with the stadium and the income that we're losing due to COVID, which connects to this part of the documentary. Do you want to explain that?
That's the thing. People can slag off Levy as much as they want, but the thing he's done with the stadium is huge for us. And I think when the fans do come back, we will, after a season of having a full stadium with the full fans without any coronavirus, I think the next season, we could spend a lot of money and definitely be title contenders. Yeah, I mean,
I think possibly this summer, not the summer we're currently in, but next summer,
yes,
we might, if depending on how many fans are allowed back in and when we start getting fans back in, we could go out and really sign a superstar. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Like, Daniel Levy has done this amazing job with the stadium, and the thing is, the reason why we've been having to get these players like Doherty and Højbjerg super cheap. I mean, we're lucky that we got them for so cheap, but we can't spend that much this summer. And sadly, I don't think we're going to be able to sign Skriniar, a player that I really wanted, because he cost 40-something million, and we can't just get this money out of nowhere. Luckily, since we let the government use our stadium as a training facility, testing facility, when the coronavirus got really bad in England, and the government gave us something like 175 million, and we were already in 200 million debt
Yeah.
because of Corona. So that really helped us. Without that money, I don't know where we would be right now.
Yeah.
But it's really sad. I mean, that Corona came because we could have really spent the big bucks this summer. And I think
Yeah.
Jose was really planning to do so because he seemed really confident when he joined the club and he knew that there was a lot of stuff that needs to be changed. I think he was really hoping to do that this summer, but sadly Corona has stopped him. Obviously, I think he'll bring one or two more players that will improve the squad, but nothing massive. But hopefully next season it will be we'll sign the next big thing, hopefully.
Yeah. If not next season because of COVID, hopefully the season after that is when we'll really get the money flowing in because of the ticket sales and match day revenue. But I mean, we're still up there. I think we'll have a good season. Uh, I think we're uh, at the. I'm trying to debate on whether it's the beginning of the beginning or the end of the beginning. We're really pushing into trophy years for the club. And I think we might be. I think that was maybe Pochettino was the beginning of really transitioning us into a big, massive club across Europe. And Jose Mourinho might be able to just really start delivering us the trophies, and the stadium might start delivering us the revenue. And I think that it's a good time to be a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I mean, as I said in the last um, podcast, my dad's been a Spurs fan his whole life,
Mm,
and he's saying that the last 5 years have definitely been the best time to be a Spurs fan in a while, because
mm,
I mean, obviously we had that huge rise as a club, and then we've kind of declined the last 2 years.
mm.
And I think now is the time to just rise again and really challenge for trophies under Jose.
And not just
And
challenge, but win trophies, which I think is
yes,
important.
win
It's
trophies.
the mentality has to change from, oh,
Yeah, from
we're
challenging to
underdogs.
winning.
Yeah, we can't just challenge anymore. We have to go and win. And I think that's the mentality that Mourinho uh, will be delivering to the club. And I think it's important. I think we're going to win a trophy this year.
Yes, I really do. I've actually haven't felt this confident in winning a trophy in a while. Plus, I mean, I need to feel confident because without one, I don't know what will happen to the club. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah.
All
Um,
right.
Anything else we want to add about
I
the
think we
All or
pretty much.
Nothing documentary?
I think that's good for now. We'll go over it a little bit more in the Everton match review.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, this was once again another episode of the Hotspur House. Make sure to check us out on all of the streaming platforms and on Instagram. My name's Tobey from _ Spurs Center. Thank you for coming, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great. See you next time.
Yep. See you next time. Come on, you Spurs.